You finally sit down. The to-do list is done, or at least paused, and for once there's space to breathe. But instead of peace, you feel the creeping presence of guilt. It doesn't matter that you've worked all day. The stillness feels undeserved. Maybe you were taught that resting was lazy, and that value only came through effort. So now, when you finally slow down, it feels like failure. Just a quick break, then back to work. But that isn't real rest. It's rest wrapped in performance. Like you're letting someone down, even if that someone is just a version of yourself. So you check your phone, glance at emails, or open a new tab. Anything to prove to yourself that you're still moving. Somewhere deep down, you believe stillness means weakness. He's the kind of person others call reliable, focused, always on top of things. By the second morning, he felt agitated and restless, like something was wrong. Couldn't enjoy the quiet because it made him feel like he was falling behind. So he packed up early and went home to catch up on work. He's doing everything right, yet unable to stop. Not because you're ambitious, but because you're afraid of what silence might say. But no one sees how tightly he's holding himself together. No one noticed that he was also anxious, scared to disappoint, and terrified of looking lazy. You were measured by what you produced, not how you felt. The more you achieved, the more you were expected to. But that guilt doesn't come from your soul. It comes from a system that's afraid of softness, stillness, and slowness. Productivity became his protection, a way to feel in control. But it also became his prison. When your body has spent years in a state of tension, rest no longer feels safe. Stopping feels like exposure, like you've let your guard down. Dying. And in a world that demands your alertness, stillness feels irresponsible. Stillness becomes unfamiliar, and unfamiliar feels dangerous. So even when the world is quiet, your body stays alert. It also activates when your brain senses perceived threat, like falling behind, being unproductive, or disappointing someone. Rest is not a skill you lost. It's a language your body forgot. And like all languages, it returns with practice, with patience, with gentleness. That response keeps you moving, even when you don't need to. You're not just working a job, you're managing a personal brand, optimizing every hour, turning rest into fuel for more output. Even healing is sold as another performance. The risk of being seen as soft, the risk of falling behind, the risk of not being enough. And the only way out isn't through more effort. It is through saying, I've enough. Meditation is no longer for inner peace. It's for increasing focus and productivity. Everything gets folded back into the loop of doing. What if stopping didn't require explanation, apology, or proof that you've done enough to deserve it? You are allowed to pause simply because you exist. Even when you do nothing, you are still enough. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to live. And no one is meant to keep going without stopping. It's not because someone's watching, but because the guilt has become internal. Lay your body down like it's allowed to soften. Let yourself feel safe in stillness. The more tired you are, the more valuable you must be. Or so we're told. People brag about overwork, skipping meals, and running on caffeine like it's something noble. We don't question it because everyone's doing it. It's a human need, as essential as breath, as natural as sleep, as valid as effort. You don't have to justify your slowness. You don't need permission. But if you're waiting for it, let this be it. But somewhere along the way, we forgot that. He doesn't know what it feels like to rest without defending it. When you ignore your need for rest, your body starts to keep score. This is honoring. This is you remembering that you are not a machine, you are a soul, and souls need space to breathe. Headaches, fatigue, anxiety, insomnia, these are often signs of a nervous system that doesn't trust the quiet. And somewhere beneath those slogans is a silent threat. If you stop, you fall behind. So you stay in motion, not because you want to, but because slowing down feels like losing. He doesn't believe he's enough without proving it. You never really clock out, because your system never learned how to. So instead of settling, we stay on edge. We call that normal. There's a discomfort in the quiet, like you're doing something wrong by doing nothing. Productivity wasn't just a habit, it became part of your identity. Over time, rest felt like stepping outside of who you were supposed to be. Even in moments of peace, that pressure stays. There's a voice in your head that says you should be doing something. it started with being praised for being productive. Hustle harder. Sleep less. Keep going. Social media flooded your screen with people doing more, building more, being more, while you sat on the couch wondering if you were falling behind. Even when we allow ourselves to rest, we do it conditionally. I earned this, we say. It's no longer about healing. It's about performing recovery. Rest should feel like relief, but for many of us it feels like risk. This guilt didn't come from nowhere. Emails future plans, small mistakes. They loop through his thoughts like a reel he can't turn off. Stillness feels louder than noise. Like most emotional habits, it was passed down. Quietly, consistently, through early praise, silence, and expectation. Maybe you grew up in a home where your effort was seen, but your exhaustion wasn't. Where being good meant staying busy and never needing too much. His name is Daniel. On paper, everything looks fine. Stable job, clean apartment, full calendar. Daniel hasn't truly rested in years. Even when he takes a day off, his mind doesn't stop racing. Once, he tried to unplug for a weekend. No laptop, no emails, just a quiet cabin. Growing up, Daniel was praised for being independent, organized, and self-motivated. Now, even when he's exhausted, he can't let himself slow down. Maybe you know someone like Daniel. Or maybe if you're honest, you are him. If you were rewarded for achieving and shamed for slowing down, you learned quickly that your worth depended on output. School reinforced the message. Its gold stars, rankings, and long hours were celebrated, while rest was framed as slacking. Then came the culture. Even self-care isn't safe from this mindset. Now we meditate to be more productive, we journal to optimize our time, we rest with the goal of returning stronger. We weren't born with guilt around rest. It was taught to us, shaped into us, repeated until it felt like truth. Sometimes it's not your mindset that keeps you moving. It's your nervous system. You are trained to survive, not to relax. The constant doing, fixing, responding. It shaped your nervous system to associate movement with safety. The fight-or-flight response isn't just triggered by emergencies, Dr. Gabor once said. The body says no when we don't. You may sit still, but your body is still working, planning, anticipating, bracing for the next demand. But here's the good news. This can be unlearned. We live in a world where exhaustion is worn like a medal. Grind harder, they say. Keep pushing. No days off. Philosopher Byung-Chul Han called this the Burnout Society, where everyone becomes an entrepreneur of the self. Even hobbies become side hustles. Self-care becomes content. And when you finally pause, that loop whispers, you're falling behind. But the truth is, you're falling apart. The culture doesn't reward rest. It rewards collapse disguised as commitment. What if you didn't need to earn rest? What if being tired was reason enough? Rest is not a reward for the productive. It's not a break between value. Therapist Nedra Glover-Tuab said, rest is a right, not a privilege. You don't have to schedule your peace. Even when you're still, you are not lazy. Even when you're quiet, you are not falling behind. So close the laptop. Let the dishes sit for a while. This is not quitting. Rest doesn't make you less worthy. It brings you back to the truth. You always were.